Welcome back to the Limitless Project. I'm Trevor, and today is going to be a magic tutorial. So let's get right into learning how to do the pin flick vanish. So what is this? Well, it's exactly as it says in the title. We're using a flick to make the pin vanish, and we can also make it reappear. So first, let's get into the mechanics of how to make the pin vanish. We're going to take our first and second finger and grip the end of the pin. Our long finger, or I guess I should say our third finger, maybe one of your fingers is oddly longer than that one, is going to rest just next to the second finger. With a quick motion, you're just going to be flicking the pin backwards. What's most important about this is paying particular attention to your spectator's eye line. I don't want to be down here and flicking it because obviously you'll see where the pin goes, or over here. So really watching your angles. If you keep in mind the eye line, when you do the vanish, there shouldn't be any visibility of the pin or flashes. Now the reason I'm using a red pin right now is so that you can easily see it. But normally I would use one more appropriate to the setting of my shirt or the background in case there are any tiny little flashes, you won't really see them. The shadowing of a black pin is usually always the best. Now, once you make the pin vanish, we can also make it reappear. But to make the vanish, let's say more convincing or disguising, we can use a couple methods. One method is motion, right? A larger motion masks the smaller motion. So with a motion up and down or around in a circle, however you want to do it or whether it fits your performance at the time, you can strike it over your knee, acting as if it just disappears. Okay, you can just do it in the air like such and make it vanish. Now what's nice about once you're in this position is the pin is actually resting comfortably right on top of the third finger and against the second finger. Now my thumb is mobile and can be a little bit more relaxed. I mean, obviously you don't want to just stay in this position like this. I mean, this is very weird, right? But just for a moment, you can be in this position and the hand can relax as much as possible and the thumb can move a little bit. It'll, again, disguise the method of what you're doing. Once the pin is in this position here, you can go on to move or do anything else, and we'll talk about reproducing it. Now, a second way you can enhance the vanish is using cover. So one way to do this is I can take my hand, go over the front of the pin. Once I've just cleared that section of visibility, you do the flick. Now my hand can come to this position and show that that pin has vanished. So not a hard move, just a little bit knacky. This is something that I like to do just when you're sitting and mindlessly watching TV or doing some other project, and just work on flicking that pin, right? Work on getting the timing down and maybe just the freeness of moving your hand around. And once you're comfortable with it, you should be able to start performing that right away. So what about making the appearance of the pin once it's vanished? Well, the appearance we can mask or disguise again with some of these methods. One is motion. One way that I like to do this is once the pin has vanished and I show this hand empty, quickly people are going to start to look at the other hand and want to see what's going on. But what we can do here is I bring this hand back. I like both hands to move at the same time and more of this hand coming forward. I don't want to, I'm going to be loading this pin. So in this position, I'm coming here. Okay? So if I keep that eye line in mind, then I'll be able to hide that pin being placed into my palm. But I don't want to just go like this because that implies that I put it in the hand, right? So I want it to be done at the same time, and I also want this hand to do more of the motion as I come forward. Once we're here, I don't want to just come up and start pulling the pin out, right? Because it's obvious the pin's right there. And this is supposed to imply that the pin is being pulled out of thin air in my palm. You just showed it empty and you're coming forward like this. I'm going to start pulling the pin out until I feel it clear the bottom here. Once I feel it clear, that's when I'll start to come up with it and then start to act like I'm just pulling it out of thin air out of my palm. So how do we use cover to reproduce the pin? Just like we made it vanish. Once the pin is vanished, the hand can come back over. Just as it covers, the pin gets flicked back out into the original position. Hand comes over, we're here. Now from this point, I really like to do this in slow motion as if I'm creating the pin, right? I'm creating it just very slowly until it's completely visible instead of doing this motion, right? I just think that's too sudden, whatever fits your style. So how do we apply this to a performance? Well, I certainly don't want you just learning how to do the Vanish and go out and just do that. It's going to be obvious. People are going to want to know where the item vanished to. They're going to logically look at your hands. So we've got to use this like anything. When we vanish something, we want to almost immediately reproduce it or produce something else that takes their interest away, or have a logical reason, let's say to go to your pocket or do something to ditch the item and bring something else out. So if I was to just take this pin and vanish it, I would immediately, like I said, using one of the methods before, want to go into reproducing it. Any of those methods are fine. You can come up with a million ways to do this. I'm just giving some ideas of how to incorporate it into a bigger effect. One routine I really like using this with is a production. It's quick, it's visual, and then you can use the pin for other effects and then close with the pin vanishing. So for example, flash paper, always a great opener, right? Gets people's attention. So you have some flash paper and you come up to whoever you're performing for, light that flash paper and produce that pin. Now we use that pin in some other effect where a chosen card is revealed on the pin or the pin is used to sign a card, whatever gives a logical reason to have produced the pin in the first place. Now at the very end, when you're finishing, you hook this up to a reel or a pull, and then you can vanish this pin completely, ending your effect. So another example is you might ask to borrow a pin from a spectator. You take the pin and you talk about how difficult it is for magicians to hold on to pins. They don't lose them, they just disappear on them all the time. As you're talking and doing this, you can gesture making the pin disappear. You say, but usually I keep a backup in my breast pocket. Now, in this case, I'd want to have a breast pocket here, right? Show that it's empty, come in, load the pin, and pull it out. It's one simple way to do it. The pin's vanished. You check your pocket, you check your other pocket. Obviously, you loaded it, pulled it back out. There's a million different ways to do this. I'm just trying to give you some food for thought, basically, on how to use this more as a routine instead of just a one little trick and oh, it's gone and here it is again. So there's so much you can do with this. In fact, one of the best ones I've seen is Jason Marr. I'll put a link so you can check out his YouTube channel. He uses this with a wand, a full-size wand, and it's awesome. And he makes the wand just vanish completely. And he's exposed this and showed how he does this, but it runs the same way the pin does. It just rests all the way along his arm. You can even ditch it as he sets his arm down. So you're moving the pin or doing whatever gesture you want. It vanishes. He does something here, and he's already ditched the pin down here. Obviously, you would ditch it into your lap or a lapping device so it doesn't make any sound, but just as an example. Final thoughts. I know this is a beginner level trick, but these are the fun ones to tinker around with, right? You take such a simple idea and you start being creative and introducing different methods and layering them with different effects. And that's what's really fun about it. I think as magicians, we tend to steer away from these easy tricks because we think, oh, the magicians know how this is done. Well, yeah, they know how it's done. It's a beginner level trick. But that's not who we're performing for. We're performing for laymen. And even magicians should enjoy watching this, especially if you've done a good job being creative with it and layering it within different effects, maybe even using different methods like we talked about. Okay, they know, oh, he just used a pin vanish in the beginning. Yeah, but maybe the second time after you produce it and you vanish it again, now you're using a pull or a reel or something else or lapping. That's where the layering of methods starts to not confuse people, but we'll say dumbfound them. Then they're just completely lost. Well, I thought that's how he was doing it. Well, yeah, that was how I was doing it. But maybe the second or third time it's done completely separate ways, or the next time you do it, it's just done a different way. So don't always just use the same method, I think is another key point. Use as many methods or part of your vocabulary as you have. That's why learning as much magic as you can is really important. I love to do as many different forces as I can with the same trick, because each time I do it, they feel like it's a completely different trick. I think he did a classic force there. Well, no, next time it was a riffle force. Or no, next time it was a Hindu shuffle force. So there's so many different ways to do things. Be creative with this. Just go out and enjoy it. First, just get the little knack down of doing the Vanish, and then start coming up with ideas of how to produce it and vanish it. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, any ideas, thoughts, anything you want to share with me, please place them in the comments. And as always, if you haven't already, please hit like, subscribe, share, and follow. It'll really help the channel out. Stay tuned. I might be performing a trick next, another tutorial, or even a product review. So I'll see you next time on The Limitless Project.